I'm going to give a short talk on wealth vases because everybody will be interested in that. And I'll give a more extensive one when I, very soon, because our center wants to make a wealth vase and a wealth cabinet. And what's that about? So I'm going to talk about it more, but I'm going to talk about a little bit for your write-up. And then from the next talk, you guys can extend. So when we have talks on the wealth vase and wealth cabinet, all the writers, please be there. Wealth vases. India, the home of Buddhism, Lord Buddha, the birthplace, is very lush. It's very big, and it hits many climates, and it's north and south of the equator, and it's very vast, and it's filled with very, very interesting environments and a spectacular array of natural jewels, like mountains in the north and lakes and deserts and forests, and it's very rich. So everything natural, minerals and jewels and whatever you want, and wood and spices you can get from India. And India, to people in the East in the past, still is like a jewel or the pearl of the Orient. And then China was the same thing on the other side. But India is the focus here because it's the birth of where Lord Buddha decided to take rebirth in this world. So therefore, everything you wanted to offer to the Buddhas, everything you wanted to construct, temples, everything you need, and then there are so many rich merchants in India and during Buddha's time, so many wealthy merchants because India has so much. It's just everything you can sell, everything and anything. And everything was just, it's like China, everything you have. And the forests are rich, the animals, the fauna, the flowers, the spices, the herbs, the minerals, the gold, the jewels, whatever you want. So to make offerings or to create temples or to get sponsors or anything you want in India, it was very, very easy. And India is a very spiritual nation. Very, very spiritual. That's why all the wonderful religions in the world coexist in India so well, because they respect each other so well. They are deep rooted in religion. They're born from it, they live in it, and they die in it. And that's Indians. And Indians have influenced the East and now the West with their spiritualism. And Tibetan Buddhism is not Tibetan Buddhism. Tibetan Buddhism comes from India. It's Indian Buddhism. So therefore, when the great Indian Panditas, P-A-N-D-I-T, Pandits, or those are scholars and meditation masters, were invited to Tibet. Tibet was seen as a barren, harsh, freezing cold, very, very far away, barbaric, backward country. And at that time, it was. It was. I mean, people did not bathe. Some people did not bathe their whole lifetime. There are people in Tibet now, they don't bathe their whole life. The whole life, can you believe that? Some parts of Tibet, once a year they bathe. In fact, I had a monk in my house. I used to tease him because he'd take a bath once every 2 weeks. And, towards the end of 2 weeks, with respect, he was a little, I wish the 2 weeks were there up already, And anyways, so I joked one time. I said, don't you think because in his part of Tibet, I know they bathe once a year. So I thought I'd, be a little bitchy, but this way, because he's an older monk, so I didn't want to be really rude, I know there are people I'm nice to too. Anyways, I said to him, hey, Gen Nima, that's his name, I said, don't you think you're bathing a little too much every 2 weeks? He said, yeah, actually, in my part of Tibet, they bathe once a year. And I was like, I didn't know until he told me. I was like, oh, God, yeah, you are bathing a lot. He says, I'm washing all my merits away. I was like, oh. So then I'm going to have to use another tactic, like, I don't know. And anyways, it's like that. So for the Indians who are cultured, mannered, scholastic, advanced, art, science, music, dance, everything and anything, the Indians, to them, when they look at the Tibetans, they're like, no, thank you. And then when the Tibetans looked at the Indians, they were like, I'm not kidding. They're in awe. To this day, Tibetans still call India Pakpe Gi Yu. Yu means place. Pakpa or Pakpe means what? The land of the Aryas. The land of the Aryas. Aryas means people who are advanced and out of samsara. So Tibetans till this day call India Pakpe Gi Yu. When Khyentse Rinpoche gives teachings, he always refers to India as Pa Yu, means the land of the Aryas. Everything, everything, a lot of it came from India. And then our country is influenced by India, very much by China, very much by Mongolia. In our countries, it's a short-term saying. The best food comes from China. The upper class in Tibet, all culinary skills came from China. The way of eating, the bowls, the chopsticks, sitting, because Tibetans, they don't even use their hands, they just eat, so all this came from China, which was another incredibly advanced nation for us, where we look we look that way, we're like, oh, we look that way, and we're like, oh, we look at us and go, oh. And yes, and then Mongolia, China is the best food, Mongolia is the best clothes. Tibetan clothes is based on Mongolian royalty. And then the best religion, India. So this is what we're surrounded by. All right, I want you to go to my room. I have that book, Buddhism book, and then you open up. There's the ladies in Tara posture and Vajrayogini posture. Do you remember that? Okay, on my desk there's 4 or 5 picture books. Bring it all here, make it easy. You know Sing Piao? Oh, good. I'm glad somebody is alert. Just to sidetrack a little bit, I found this beautiful picture for Kandarohi. These are beautiful, beautiful Nepalese girls in Tara posture, doing rituals, sitting as posture of Tara. Beautiful Nepali girls in the form of Vajrayogini and Indra Kachar, another form of Vajrayogini. Look at that. I know where Zahir is going after this. He's going to run to Nepal to the costume shop. I'm getting the exact same outfit for Halloween. Isn't that fabulous? Look at these. Aren't they beautiful? Yeah. We can look at this after you put it there, all right? You can take a looky after. Aren't you excited? And it's a dance. So, when the masters came to Tibet, getting sponsors were not very easy because, Tibetans didn't have money. They bartered with yak meat, dried cheese, dung, and yogurts and milk. That was their wealth. Animals, yaks, and, that's all they had. And then to teach them the Dharma, they were like, they're nomads, and it's very difficult. And to build things, to get things, everything was so difficult. So the system of offerings that developed in Tibet was very unique of Tibet for a barren country at that time that was very, you have to travel miles to get water. And in the forest, yes, there's forests, but it's not like India, and then 9 months out of the year, the forest, you can forget about the forest. You go in there, either you be kidnapped by a Yeti or you die in the snow. So it's not very easy, where it's opposite. So the great masters of India, who had plenty of sponsors, plenty of resources and materials to build temples, to materials for monks, and food, and necessities, and whatever they need for the Dharma to grow, was very easy in India. But it was not like that in Tibet. So when the Indian masters came to Tibet, they just took one look, and out of their great compassion, they stayed. They stayed. Because for us, we go to some place that's not very fun, see you later. And the one great master that stayed was Lama Adisha. Dipankara Sri Jana Adisha. You just call him Adisha, it's good enough. All right? Adisha was a great, great master from Bodh Gaya Monastery, from Bodh Gaya itself. And he had received permission from the abbot at the request of the king of Tibet, Yeshi O-D. Yeshi. That's how they spell it. And Yeshi is Y-E-S-H-E. King Gyebo Yeshi means King Yeshi, Emperor Yeshi. And he was requested to come to Tibet, to make a long story short, because there's a big story about that. And when he came to Tibet, things were very difficult. Getting resources, getting water, and camping out in tents, and sponsors, and materials to build statues, and knowledge. It was so difficult. So Lama Adisha was so kind. He prayed to his goddess, Tara. And he invoked upon her. And he asked her for help. And Tara, the great goddess Tara, manifested Adisha daily, all the time, and spoke to him directly, back and forth as we speak to each other. She was his tutelary deity. She was his mother. She was his guru. She was his guide. She was everything to him. She was his Buddha, and he became one with her. So in any case, through her beautiful divine inspiration, he developed the Wealth Vase. And what the Wealth Vase is drawing upon the 5 elemental energies that are available on this planet, which is the basis and the source of all materials, physical, which money, wealth, jewels, everything is made of them. So if you break all material things up, it's actually those five what do I call it? Components, elements. The 5 elements, exactly. And so they contain the 5 elements, and they contain the mantra, the image, offerings of that particular deity. And they contain special ingredients such as High Lama's robes and monks' clothes, or special blessed holy items like sand and tree barks or whatever, or dirt from Bodh Gaya, or relics from High Lama such as His Holiness Dalai Lama, His Holiness Panchen Lama, His Holiness Trijang Dorje Chang, Kyabje Song Rinpoche, etc. And then these elemental items, now we'll use Dzambala as an example. There are 5 main forms of Dzambala: red, white, yellow, green, and blue. And they represent the 5 elements. They represent the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. They represent the 5 aggregates transformed into enlightened energy. So the 5 types of Dzambalas are combined, and their images and their mantras and their mandalas are formed inside the wealth vase, along with representations of the 5 elements of the planet and wealth of the planet. So little bits of pearl, little bits of gold, little bits of silver, of mercury, different jewelries, rubies, whatever you can afford, sapphires, and put inside. And then these are done by monks who have finished the Yamataka retreat, received Yamataka, have done the retreat, and have kept up the practice of Yamataka every single day in order to dispel negative energy, and preferably have received the Dzambala initiation and Dzambala practice. And then they go and get the ingredients clean, free of impurities, and from sources that are not from robbery or prostitution or killing and murder. And then they bring it together and they have a puja. In the puja, they set up beautiful offerings, tormas, food items. They set up beautiful water. They set up beautiful flowers and incense and light and music. And then they chant the holy verses, invoking upon Dzambala's energy and asking Dzambala to enter these items. And then Dzambala enters these holy items. And then after that puja is done, then they put these items into a wealth vase in specific directions according to the different Dzambalas, like a mandala. So the whole wealth vase contains the mandala, the living energy of Lord Dzambala. Then it is with mantra and ritual sealed. So when you do this, you don't talk, hey, how's your dog? My dog is not eating too well, so I gave him chicken soup instead. You don't just keep talking. You recite mantras, Om Dzambala Dzambala, so, and you do meditation. You do meditation, you are Dzambala. And your environment is Dzambala. And your mantra and your sound is Dzambala. And you are doing this, that whoever touches and sees and has anything with these vases, even the word poverty is eliminated. And may they gain compassion. And then you seal these up with 5 colors. And when it's sealed with 5 colors, it represents the 5 elements sealed in. And then again, the vases are put on to an altar. You invite holy monks, High Lamas, who will again do the ritual to seal and invoke the energy of Lama Dzambala and to directly go inside. And this one energy is specifically to increase knowledge, wisdom, patience, effort, increase generosity. So this wealth vase, people who own it, who people perpetuate, people who pray, people who keep it well, this wealth vase will help you to gain the inner jewels. And then on the outer level, when you keep the wealth vase and you do the proper rituals and prayers, it will help you to overcome obstacles to work, to finances, to money, to jobs, opportunity, education, growth, life, sickness, premature death. So for families, it's wonderful. For people, individuals, wonderful. For factories. And so these wealth vases were made and combined. Why? For a very barren, hard to get resources country that they needed money and resources and people to grow. It's very practical. And in Tibet, it was very hard. So Lama Atisha developed these great wealth vases for us, this great Indian guru. And from then, the wealth vases flourished in Tibet. And then they were made specifically for the Dharma and monasteries, because monasteries were very difficult. Monks are not allowed to work in the fields. Why? Cannot kill insects and animals. Monks are not allowed to do trading. Monks are not allowed to do business. So there was no income for monks. And then Tibet didn't have this consciousness of making offerings to monks at that time, because Buddhism is new. So there was no generous sponsors like in India, where they would take care of the monks. The monks themselves cannot work. It put them in a very precarious situation of survival. So Lama Atisha put these beautiful wealth vases in, which attracted necessary help, energy, money, sponsors, resources, and it made the monasteries grow. Every single Tibetan monastery, every single one, will have a wealth vase or two in their monastery. And wealth vases can be white Dzambala, yellow Dzambala, four-faced Mahakala, white Mahakala. It can be Tara wealth vases. It goes on and on. There are many, many types, and they originally stem from Lama Atisha. So when they're put inside, and we make a wealth vase cabinet, which I will not talk about today because it won't affect you guys right now. We'll make a wealth vase cabinet, and the offerings I'll talk about another time. You'll love it. You guys are going to love it. You're going to say, oh my God, I want my own little wealth vase closet. You're going to love it. They bring incredible health, wealth, and what you need. They really fulfill wishes. It's not, I will tell you this personally, it's not a joke. Many, many years ago, 6, 7 years ago, when I was having tremendous financial problems, difficulties, and obstacles and stuff, I went to see the oracle, and the oracle told me directly, make a wealth vase and make a wealth cabinet, and what you wish for will come true. Sure enough, my God. In that time, I was living on 500 rupees a month, and I was starving. You should see pictures of me when I first came to Malaysia. I looked skinnier than Dashi. Dashi would look fat next to me. And it wasn't because I was, it's like metabolism. I wasn't getting any food. I didn't have any food. I lived for years with no sponsors. I lived for years in the monastery starving before I became a Rinpoche, many years. I literally, every single day, I ate Dzamba, which is Tibetan barley flour, and I mixed it with tea if I can afford to buy it, and just eat that. And the leftovers I give to birds. And then some I make a few to offer to the deities on my altar. So I literally starved to death. I had very little money, very, very little. But I didn't mind because I didn't go to India for money. So I lived that for many, many years. And traveling back and forth and all that was a very big, when there was teachings for His Holiness, getting the money together to travel to North India, which is very far, was a huge obstacle. I'm not complaining and I'm not bragging. It's just a fact. And so when I put the wealth vase in, see tremendous difference. Tremendous. And not only was I able to get sponsorship and help for myself, I was able to get sponsorship and help for the local hospital, 2 hospitals, Tibetan and Western, for the local government there. I was able to help with the local Indians. I was able to help with the schools. I was able to help 3 schools. I was able to help in building schools. I was able to help in the monastery itself. And I myself was the cause of sponsorship for over 350 monks every month, 500 rupees would come to me for per month. So every month I will offer 500 rupees to very poor monks. And tuberculosis. I was a very big sponsor for tuberculosis. Monks who had tuberculosis and they couldn't afford the medicine, I sponsored that. I found sponsors for that. And after the wealth phase, all these things grew. So what I saw was my Dharma grew because of it. I was able to do more for others. The wealth phases do work if we treasure them. They're not ordinary. And the wealth phases that we have in Kichara Paradise are not commercial. They're not arbitrarily ordered in Nepal by a bunch of people I've never seen or heard. Those wealth vases, the vase itself was ordered from Taiwan because they had that ready. It was beautiful. And I ordered it. I had to find sponsorship for that. And the ingredients itself, I myself gathered together with Chia and a few other people. And I myself spent weeks and weeks wrapping and preparing each one because we made about 500. And then after it was wrapped and prepared and then sealed, I had to seal each one and with mantras and prayers. My guru, Khensa Rinpoche, was in town. His Eminence Khensa Rinpoche at that time was in his mid-70s, came to my house in Singapore. I was staying in Singapore, and I have pictures of this. It's beautiful, and we laid it out. And Rinpoche did 1 full day of Dzambala pujas to energize those vases. So those vases, small and big, doesn't matter. I made 2 sizes. Why? Some people's houses are small in Singapore. They're exactly the same thing. So those vases I made, and I put together, and I sealed and wrapped, and blessed, more importantly, by Khyentse Rinpoche, one of the greatest living Buddhist masters of this century. And they were originally raised for what? They were left there to be raised, to be used for raising funds for the debate hall that was being built in the monastery, which is, they're still asking me for funds on that, because I have a very big debate hall that is being made in the monastery, and they don't have enough money. They sent me a letter recently for help. Anyway, those vases were made to raise funds for that. And so I've donated them to DMT, and I told them that, what did I say? 25% of the profits go to DMT for its upkeep, and then the 75%, what? Yes, for Khyentse Rinpoche. No, for the monastery. For the monastery. So I've already donated all those up, and I plan on making more wealth vases in the future of different protectors and different deities in the monastery, and I'll have great monks doing it. Great. So those wealth vases can be bought by individuals to be kept in our house, but they are not to be touched with our bare hand. They should be touched with a kata or a clean cloth, and they should be kept in a vase with a glass covering over it. They can be kept in our office. They can be kept in our rooms, on our shrine. They can be kept in the living room. They can be kept anywhere, and you can make offerings in front of them because they have the energy, the properties, and the power of the 5 Dzambalas in them. 5 Dzambalas. And so it would be better even if we make a wealth cabinet for them, but we are not able to do that in all our houses. It's difficult. So I'm going to make one at the center where we can have our combined resources to do it in the future. In any case, maintenance of them is very simple. Keep them in a clean place. You can move them anytime you want. You can place them however you like. You can place them anywhere but the toilet. And they're very powerful, they're very blessed, and they're the collective energies of Dzambala. All right, any questions about vases and Dzambala vases? Any questions, please? Isn't it fabulous? How do you feel about that, Kandarohi? A small one or a big one? Well, pick one quick. You want the big one, right? Yes. They have bigger Dzambalas inside. He's like, oh, you're tricking me again. Okay, an easier question for Kandarohi is, what haven't you reserved in the Dharma stores? That'll be easier, all right? Yes. They make great gifts. Imagine your best friend's birthday, a Dzambala vase. And I'm not kidding, they're very precious. They're very precious because they're not commercial. I am so sorry to see some places that create it commercially. They are not. They were made by me. They were made by Khyentse Rinpoche. They were blessed by him. Oh, fabulous. So what we need to do is, please keep a note down, Jenny, is I need to pass you the picture of Khyentse Rinpoche in front of them, blessing it. So we can keep that in the shop nearby. Why? It's not show off to sell. It is to show people that it is genuine. So people feel happier. A High Lama like that blessed it. Isn't that fabulous? Don't forget, we got to get that from my picture collection. I might have that on my documents. You can ask Sing Piao, under High Lama pictures, or it might be in my picture pile, so you can have a Tashi to look for. Good luck. Well, depends on how many you make. Because, okay, the ones that we took about a month. Took about a month. It was a lot of work. And in India, it's even nicer because they go to the shops and they buy little copper vases like that, and they paint it white and they paint the different insignias on it. And it's a little crude and rough, but it just has a nice feeling. And then I was thinking, 500 vases I paint. I was thinking, I ain't a reincarnation of Andy Warhol here. I was thinking, forget it. And so I ordered from Taiwan. It was ready-made. Thank you very much. It was all painted and done, so it looked quite nice. But if we order from the monasteries, they'll paint it up. So it'd be quite nice. I was thinking I want to get more. Imagine Tara wealth vases. Oh God, grabby time. Zahir will be camping outside the day before KP opens. I'm in line first. Could you see it? And then we'll make like 21 Tara vases, and there'll only be one white tower vase. Everything else would be green. Yes, and Kendra would be like, she'll be looking for ways to bribe one to get that one white tower wealth vase. You know how greedy these Indian people are. Oh my good, even if they're born in Bahrain. Just kidding. Very spiritual person. Any questions about the wealth vases? That should be enough for your little write-up. Good, good. We're moving along fine, getting a lot of information.